Beginning here. So amazing turnout today. I'm grateful to have you all here. We've been very busy as there's just been so many events happening, both with our partners and internally. We're just tracking a lot of bills as things are moving. So we're grateful to have you all here, taking time out of your busy schedules. I know this is a busy season for a lot of you as well. And we will kick things off with events. So Lisa, I'll let you talk a little bit about the Chicago Beach cleanup. And if there's any members who want to chime in that were at the beach cleanup, feel free to follow up whatever Lisa has to say first.
Yes, thank you, Zoe. In partnership with Half Acre Beer Company, we hosted a beach cleanup at Montrose Beach in Chicago. Last or earlier this month, actually. And we had a great turnout. We had probably around 50 people, cleaned up a ton of plastic off the beach. We're there for about an hour and a half. And then following the event, Half Acre hosted a launch party for their new beer, which is called Reef Knot, and a portion of the proceeds from Reef Knot come back to support Great Lakes Business Network. So all around, it was really awesome. A big shout out to all the members who attended, and also a huge thank you to Half Acre Beer Company for their partnership in this event, and with the beer. And I see Travis is on, so shout out to Travis.
And Patagonia, you all hosted a bike ride as well. Great.
Yeah,
Beth,
we had some staff who biked up from West Loop, which is super cool, and were able to join in. So really appreciate the Half Acre team hosting, and it was great to get more of our staff engaged. So thank you all. Thanks, Travis.
Our pleasure. It was a good time.
cool. Beth, do you want to give us a recap on the Mackinac Island event?
Yeah, and I'll cover a couple of these other upcoming events as well. But this past week, or I guess a little over a week, 150 people joined a protest on the island during the policy conference to bring awareness to the tunnel proposal and the ongoing illegal operation of Line 5. This was organized by Oil and Water Don't Mix. Several staff were able to attend, and I was able to speak a little bit to this bill and alternatives needed around Line 5. So it's a great event. We got a lot of attention of key lawmakers on the island, including Governor Whitmer, who was our target. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. But upcoming events I wanted to flag: Barrel Days are coming up this weekend. So I wanted to get folks there if you can make it in Empire. We also have the Waters Life Festival, August 30th in Petoskey, Michigan. And then in Wisconsin, there's going to be a record-breaking party for the origami fish that are being created right now. The record was 18,000, and last I heard we're at 30,000 fish being created, which will be delivered to Governor Evers that weekend, and then they will swim over to Michigan to be delivered to Governor Whitmer as a way to bring attention to the fact that we want her to continue to advocate for Line 5's closure. And then I'll hand it to you for the engagement committees.
Yeah, so we're excited to kick off the engagement committee next week already. Yeah, June 25th at 3 p.m. we'll be hosting our first Zoom meeting, and this will just be an opportunity really for folks who want to lean in more on the GLBN events and fundraising, and some of our strategic vision for the future as we look towards building out the network and creating more opportunities. So this came from our executive committee, who were excited to find more with subcommittees and make that happen. And so we've taken that feedback where this is open to anybody who's a part of the network, and we'll make sure to send out that invite in our upcoming communications, and following this in our meeting minutes, we'll have that invite as well. So if furthering your engagement in the GLBN, especially in our events and networking component, is something of interest, we look forward to having you there. I just want to give a shout out real quick to our new members, spanning from Chicago to Northern Michigan. We've got everything from solar to Italian eateries, and jog training. So some of these folks found their way to us naturally just through the internet. Other folks found their way to us through friendly recommendations from existing members. So we're excited to see the membership growing. We're, I think, around 235 members right now, just to give everybody an idea of what that looks like. And I will dive into clean energy. As I've mentioned, there's just so many moving pieces, and a budget reconciliation is a huge piece of we're really keeping our eye on right now. It's frankly a wrecking ball scenario for us where clean energy is one of their key targets. And I've put some of what's happening here to the budget. And I mean, these 5 bullet points are just a very high level recap of what we're looking at and what's coming down the line as far as possible increases for pollution and decreases to funding for tackling the climate crisis. And ultimately, it means a lot of increases in our energy prices. So we're just frankly quite concerned about what could the budget look like. The House worked on their version of it, sent it to the Senate. The Senate is now making their edits. The goal is for the ping-ponging back and forth to be done by August 4th, because that's when government shutdown happens. So we're seeing the Senate and the various committees release their different bullet points and suggestions. We're seeing lots of fact sheets come out on these that I'll share out after this meeting. But Princeton's Zero Lab recently looked at some of those budget cuts, and they predicted that it would see a 1 billion metric ton increase in pollution by 2035 with all the proposed budget cuts, just because we're seeing certainly like a decrease in investments for those clean energy investments, and various cleanup opportunities and reduction in pollution rules, et cetera. So that is just jeopardizing the advancements that we frankly have made over the last 4 years that were so critical to spurring domestic manufacturing and tackling the climate crisis and keeping our air and water clean. So we're really doing everything we can at GLBN to engage businesses, and a lot of that's happening behind the scenes. We had 3 solar companies write letters to Senator Husted of Ohio, because he's one of the key votes, encouraging him to defend the clean energy investments. So opportunities like that behind the scenes. And if you'd like to get involved, certainly please let me know. We're doing everything that we can. Additional program impacts, water efficiency standards. It scraps the Energy Star program. There's a lot of opportunities for polluter pay to bypass permitting for various liquid natural gas permits. And here you'll see the stats on what it could even mean for job loss in the clean manufacturing industry, specifically Illinois and Michigan, where they were listed because they're within the top 7 states that would see impacts. What's happening right now, more on a policy standpoint and not a funding standpoint, is that Zeldin, the EPA administrator, is looking to dismantle the carbon pollution standards and roll back mercury air toxic pollution standards. So the comment periods will be opening any day now. They have registered this. They plan to keep some of the standards in place, so it's not a full congressional review of the standards that were put in place by the previous administration. They're just rolling them back. And we definitely will be engaging businesses in those comment periods as well. So this is what we need from you all. We're calling on you all to call your senators. We have friendlies in our states, but we also have folks who need support and could be on the fence. So below here is a script that I'll send out afterwards, calling for the protection of clean energy investments. And I assume we could lump in Great Lakes restoration and protection in this as well, as that funding is certainly being looked at. And then we have a op-ed opportunity that was brought to us by the Climate Action Campaign. So they're hoping to work with some businesses to create local stories on the impacts of climate change and how it could be impacting tourism directly tied to your business. So I can send out more about that afterwards as well, but if that's something you'd like to speak to, they can help write your story and they would interview you and then ghostwrite it for you, but put your name on it, as well as help with the pitch of that story. And then the last piece for clean energy action is the carbon rule engagement that I was just speaking of. There is the opportunity to testify virtually on June 8th. That sign up hasn't opened yet, but it's going to open any minute. So we'll certainly be calling on businesses to put their name on that list, and then we can help with any of the talking points. And these comment periods are kind of funky. They go for like 4 hours. So this is something where like the staff would sit on and then send you a text and say, hey, you're next. And then you would quickly hop on the Zoom so you're able to speak and you wouldn't have to wait on that comment period for a 4-hour Zoom meeting. So providing all the resources you need there. And I will bump it to Lisa.
Yes, thank you, Zoe. Did we want to pause for any clean energy questions or take questions at the end?
Either is fine. If folks have a burning question, feel free to come off mute. Alrighty.
Okay. So thank you so much. I first wanted to highlight our very exciting spring event, our GLBN Spring Fly-In, and just congratulate and thank all of the businesses who were able to participate this year. So we took a trip to DC in late April. We had 8 participating businesses representing Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois. So we had a really strong turnout and a great representation across Great Lakes states. We were able to meet with 10 Great Lakes legislators and share different priorities related to our key campaigns. So talking through, defending some of the federal funding for the Great Lakes, investments in the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, investments in clean energy, some of the key considerations for supporting the decommissioning of Line 5 and elevating some of the alternatives that could replace the flow of oil. So it was a really awesome turnout, and we had some really meaningful conversations that have opened the door to continuing relationships with some of these offices. And I think one thing I just really want to highlight is the way that all of these businesses really stepped up and took leadership roles in the meetings and really led the conversations, which we were so proud and happy to see as staff this year in particular. So all to say thank you to everyone who was able to join, and thank you to everyone who submitted letters. We did also deliver 4 or 5 letters from GLBN businesses to elected officials, which, was another way to leave sort of our lasting mark and priorities with some of these offices and for businesses who were not able to join us in person. So a big thank you and exciting things to come. We look forward to continuing and growing this event next year. And then I just wanted to walk through a couple of our ongoing campaigns under the restoration umbrella. There's a lot of things happening, so I'll do my best to be brief. But starting with Michigan polluter pay, so last week some bills were introduced in the Michigan Senate, and we anticipate a companion bill in the Michigan House this week. And these bills are really intended to put the onus and responsibility of cleaning up pollution and contamination onto polluting business entities. So this is really considered a common sense piece of legislation. Michigan used to have strong polluter pay laws and they were repealed. So it's an effort to restore what we once had. And so we have heard from some of the sponsoring legislators that business voices are really important in this conversation to counteract some of the negative opposition that we're hearing from big industry groups that are inherently against more regulation. But just wanted to give a shout out to Jimmy Banish with the Bear Factory, who testified virtually in the hearing last week. And you can listen to his testimony on our social media. We posted a clip to Facebook and Instagram, I believe. So happy to answer any questions there. We'll continue to monitor where these bills go, but it's likely to be a long road ahead to get anything actually passed. I also wanted to emphasize the Brandon Road Lock and Dam project. So most of you are probably familiar. We've been talking about this for a decade, but this is the barrier project that would prevent the spread of invasive carp to the Great Lakes through the Illinois River. And I think, if about a month ago or 2 months ago, this project was in the news a lot because Illinois was really concerned that they would not receive the federal funding to really start and finish the project that they had been promised, as some of the infrastructure funding had been frozen, that was allocated to Illinois for the project. But in happy news, I think on May 9th, or actually, excuse me, later May, Illinois did receive the federal commitment and assurances to receive that they would receive the funding that they had been promised. And so this project is moving forward. And Illinois was able to purchase the parcel of land that they needed to actually start the construction. So good news on the Brandon Road Lock and Dam. And thank you to all the businesses who have engaged with that campaign over the last 5 years of GLBN. Pivoting to the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. So this is similar to a lot of the clean energy funding that Zoe outlined. The GLRI funding basically is the largest federal investment in the Great Lakes. So providing funding to the different agencies that work on Great Lakes protection, water quality monitoring, restoration projects, cleaning up contamination, all of that research. So it's a very important federal funding mechanism and of course is at risk with a lot of the other federal investments. So GLBN has been partnering with groups around the region to make sure that we're doing a lot of storytelling and advocating for the importance of this funding to elected officials. So we have been signing on to a lot of letters, participating in meetings with decision makers, and just continuing to do that advocacy, showcasing why Great Lakes Health is important to businesses in the region. The GLRI funding was included in the president's budget. So that's a good sign, but I think it's really important to acknowledge that, a lot of the cuts to agencies actually affect the way that the work is able to be carried out because, the money flows down into agencies. And then if there's no staff to actually do the work, it really creates a problem. So we're continuing to monitor that and anticipate that there will be more opportunities to engage as we, follow this budgeting process and appropriations process for fiscal year 26. On the PFAS front, GLBN has been working in close collaboration with the Great Lakes PFAS Action Network, and we're brainstorming some ways to build out some more educational experiences for businesses with PFAS this year. We know looking at the state level, there's a couple of monitoring bills and drinking water monitoring bills as well as polluter pay that all really sort of overlap between PFAS, polluter pay, and some of the other campaigns that we've been working on. So more to come with PFAS, but just wanted to flag that that's still a priority issue for a lot of businesses in the network, and we're aware of that. So we're doing our best to really build out some opportunities to leverage your voice there. And then on the microplastics front, so we do have a continuing partnership with a team of master's students from the University of Michigan who will give a brief update on their project in just a moment. But I also wanted to highlight that we are continuing to watch some of the legislation moving at the state level. So including a transition ban on styrofoam food products or food servingware and takeout containers that was moving in Illinois. So we had a couple of businesses engage on that policy. And then we're anticipating the introduction of some drinking water monitoring bills in Michigan later this year. So we're continuing on that. And then GLBN also signed on to a letter that was urging Governor Whitmer to join many other state governors in encouraging the EPA to include microplastics as a a contaminant to monitor under the Safe Drinking Water standards. So essentially, if enough governors sign on to a petition to the EPA, it would be included as a list as a contaminant that would be regulated and monitored under the Safe Drinking Water Act. And so we will continue to follow up with more opportunities to engage there. And I'm happy to take any questions on restoration. Okay, and I'll just jump into a few quick action opportunities. So the student team will talk more about this, but we do have some opportunities to participate in an interview around microplastics, your business, and concern for the Great Lakes. So thank you so much to all of the businesses who are participating in that. We continue to have a lot of opportunities for media storytelling. So again, if your business has been impacted by any of the federal cuts, or you would like to really, voice your support for protections on any of our key issues like microplastics, the Great Lakes and tourism in your business, invasive carp, or polluter accountability, please reach out and we're happy to work with you to put something in the media. As far as our GLRI advocacy, I mentioned this, but we're continuing to advocate for full funding for the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. So there's some opportunities for storytelling there as well. And I know a couple of our businesses are also partnering with the Healing Our Waters Coalition through GLBN. So thank you to everyone who has participated with that project. And then just generally, we want to find more ways to feature GLBN businesses across our social media and, continue to put forward that Great Lakes business narrative. So if anyone has interest in providing a quote and a photo or some kind of, media feature on GLBN socials, please reach out and we're happy to help put something together.
Cool. Thank you, Lisa, for the introductions for our project. Again, I'm Lily, and one of my research partners, Claire, is also on the call. We're just working with the GLBN over the next year to address microplastics in the Great Lakes. So just a short background on microplastics. They're just small pieces of plastic or synthetic material that's less than 5 millimeters, so very difficult to see with the human eye. They come from things like nurdles used in manufacturing, cosmetics, synthetic fibers, and the breakdown of larger plastic pieces and tires. And they can contain harmful chemicals that disrupt human and wildlife health, and their impact on agriculture is a growing concern. So it's important to protect the Great Lakes to sustain the businesses that rely on it. Prevention and limiting the use of plastic are the best methods to do so and protect the health of people in the Great Lakes region. So we believe that the Great Lakes Business Network can be a driving force behind this work. The main objective of our project is to create a policy platform and implementation guide, a list of best practices for GLBN members to reduce plastic use, and then create some educational materials. We are currently conducting interviews, as Lisa said, that will provide us with the data we need to make recommendations, and this is integral to our project. Focus of these interviews is to hear about your experiences, uncover opportunities and barriers to taking action on microplastics, and then to kind of explore your interest in the GLBN and increase engagement. So thank you again to everybody that has already done an interview or has scheduled one. We could use more help though, so if you haven't already been contacted and you're interested in participating, please email microplasticsglbn@umich.edu or keep an eye on your inboxes because we might be reaching out to some more GLBN members in the upcoming days and weeks. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Lily. Appreciate that. Beth, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks all. Quick update here on line 5, and then I know we want to get to Q&A and conversation, but legal challenges, there have not been a lot of changes in the last few months outside of we recently heard in the last few days that the case that Enbridge has brought against the state of Michigan claiming preemption will move forward in federal court. That just means that the case is advancing. It does not, they have not argued any of the foundational arguments in that case yet. So that's still a long time out. And we had 2 pending really big decisions or next steps, one in the 6th Circuit, where I'm sorry, one in the Seventh Circuit where Bad River Band is actively trying to evict Enbridge after a 10-year trespass on their reservation. And then there's also a lot of pending decisions waiting in the state of Michigan's case, which is at state court and under Judge Jamo. So we don't know why there's so much of a delay on these cases, other than we all just assume that it's tied to the political unrest and uncertainty around the general issue right now, which is, I think, how we're feeling about all the things right now. And then A's comment period, there's a really short comment period for the environmental impact statement that has been released for the tunnel. This is on an expedited process as a part of Trump's energy emergency that's been declared. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has decided to tag Line 5 as an energy emergency, and I will share in chat some talking points that our larger coalition has come up with around this, but basically it's a rubber stamp from an agency that has already made a predetermined decision, and they have started from a very flawed space. For the business network in particular, we're playing a really important role in bringing attention to the fact that there are alternatives to Line 5 that boost jobs, rely on domestic oil products, and are existing, including Enbridge's existing owned pipelines. And we're also bringing attention through our comments and through our advocacy in DC and elsewhere to the fact that there's already an eviction date of 2026. And so an orderly shutdown is the most appropriate option and needs to be considered as an alternative versus the tunnel and the reroute that are being proposed in Wisconsin. And then for the reroute updates, those are all in appeal right now. The Bad River Band is appealing and fighting the water quality piece as we speak. That comment period just ended this last weekend. And then Michigan Environmental, or I'm sorry, not Michigan, Midwest Environmental Advocates are also in an appeal on the DNR permits that have been issued. So that one is under quite the battle as well. And then the last thing I will say is that because of so many of these permits are up in the air and so much of the federal prospects around having any type of coherent conversation around Line 5 just doesn't seem plausible at this point, we are really putting all of our attention and efforts into the Michigan decision-making process. And our big ask right now is calling on the state of Michigan to fulfill its duty by requiring a Submerged Lands Act permit. Enbridge has somehow been able to skirt this permit under Eagle with past leadership, and under this leadership, which is Phil Roos, we are calling for him to require Submerged Lands Act, which should have been required all along. And it's a very dangerous precedent if we do not require that. And so that's where we know the state of Michigan will look at alternatives to Line 5. We'll know that they'll look at the impacts to the Great Lakes as possible drilling disasters occur during that entire project, which is set to be 6 to 7 years of ongoing construction, damage to our aquifers, as we learned in the EIS release. So all of this is coming out, and we really hope that as we start to build some communications around the flawed process and Michigan needing to step up, some of the membership here will step up and put some pressure on Governor Whitmer and state agencies especially. And then we continue federal education, and this is desperately needed because just yesterday, a couple representatives put through a bill in Congress that won't go anywhere. It's mostly just like a resolution or a PR stunt, but it basically says that nobody can shut down Line 5. And no president can shut down Line 5. And so, that type of, we need to continue education. And sadly, Representative Bergman was a part of that PR stunt. And so we will prioritize meeting with him in district during the recess to make sure that he fully understands the alternatives piece. If you want to go to the next slide, Zoe.
Yeah.
And then I'm dropping in chat some talking points for the hearing today in case folks want to join at 1. And then opportunities, I mentioned the hearing. We really need direct outreach to Governor Whitmer. If you're a part of any type of donor base or any type of group that is meeting with her various networks or her administration at any given time, it'd be great to know if there's ways that we can build some conversations with her to make sure that we're reinforcing her commitment to protecting the Great Lakes. We will have upcoming briefings in July. We're partnering with Flow on one of them for a public facing briefing, and then we will invite GLBN to a supporters briefing, which is more of a behind the scenes conversations with donors and foundations. And then we will continue congressional meetings, and I mentioned the hearings for the Army Corps, which are today at 1, and then another one June 25th. And just to emphasize again, while we do want to let the Army Corps know that we do not support this project, the bigger message is really reinforcing that they failed this permitting review from the beginning, especially not considering alternatives in a holistic way. And we are, again, redirecting a lot of our energy and base back to making sure that Governor Whitmer upholds her duties to protect the Great Lakes. I will stop there, and I know our team has been engaged in a lot of this, so if you all want to add anything, please jump in or take questions.
Beth, when people join at that 1 p.m. time, how do they get in the queue to provide a comment? Is that clear?
Yeah, I think that one is going to be a little bit of a slog. Let me get some directions on that, and I can share it around when we get the notes out here after the meeting. But I do think that it's not as nice as you had outlined, Zoe, in the previous comment period. I think you do have to join for the whole period.
That is not their goal, right?
Yeah, they don't want to make it simple. But I'll clarify if there is some simplicity to it.
Alrighty.
One last piece, I will say we have an attorney on helping us develop comments that will be submitted formally at the deadline of this. And we are supporting our Indigenous partners, including Earth Justice. They represent Bay Mills and a lot of the Indigenous nations that are opposed to this project. So we will be working very closely on the legal side to make sure our comments are supportive and also take on the business network's perspective. So more to come on that, but just wanted to flag that in addition to some of the actions you'll hear from us, we will have a formal set of comments submitted.
Yeah. Love to open it up at this time to members. If you have any questions or anything you want to share out. Marta, I saw you had a cool experience recently with an elected official. Any insights?
Yeah, Jocelyn Benson, who's our Secretary of State, and she's running as a candidate for governor as a Dem, was supposed to meet at a cafe up the road from us, and it just like overwhelmed the cafe, so they ended up relocating to the motel, which was super perfect. We had a like great lawn seating, and it was nice to get a little bit of time with her, and just we talked about the importance of shutting Pipeline 5 down and some pizzas with the GRLI, okay. And specifically some dams in Manistee County that are their future's kind of uncertain, and that we just need governmental officials who are going to prioritize the environment. And she was super lovely. I didn't know much about her. I don't know if she's my person or not. I have no idea, but she was really lovely. Her team was really lovely, and yeah, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I'm glad that you had the space available.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Cool.
And I was going to put this in chat, but actually this is perfect. Jumping off point for that. We do hope to host a bunch of in-district conversations through, I think they go through early September and recess. They have maybe 1 or 2 weeks that they're back in DC. We have some support, a consultant that can help us arrange the meetings and get the right folks in the room, and then staff can help set up the event. So if you want to host anything in district with any lawmakers that you really want to get the ear of, please, or candidates, please reach out and we'll help set that all up.
Meliora, I know I just got an email from a member of your team that you're starting a hiring process for a new team member. Maybe folks on this team could help with that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're excited. We're going to be hiring a new director of manufacturing operations. You know, be on the lookout. We'll certainly post on our own pages, but you know, we're excited to keep adding and growing our team so we can keep making awesome, sustainable cleaning products.
Very cool. And good luck with the search.
Thanks.
And Erica, I just wanted to give you a moment to say hi to the whole group. I think you're our newest member here on the call. Erica is based out of Chicago, so if you just want to say hi real quick.
Hi, hello from Chicago. Thanks for including me. I'm with Great Lakes Sailing. It's a sailing school for adults and kids. I just started a nonprofit program that connects STEM and sailing for girls. It starts next week. We had someone from NOAA come out on Monday, and they trained us on using one of their devices called the Sond, and they're lending it to us all summer so that we can take firsthand data for NOAA.
That is so cool. Amazing.
I'll just add one more plug. If folks have events or anything coming up at your business that you want GLBN to lift up or, you know, post on our socials or include in our newsletter, we're here to help promote your business and your events. So definitely just keep the communication flowing, and we're happy to help support however we can.
All right. Well, I don't want to take up more of your precious time than I have to. So thank you all for hanging out with us a little bit this morning. It's good to see your faces. And as always, let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah, and actually, Zoe, I realized I was on mute. I'm so sorry. I wanted to make a quick plug after Lisa's plug for events. We have Barrel Days this weekend and want to just give all of you a formal invitation to come join us. It's an event very much centered in environmental stewardship, and hoping that we might have a GLBN presence there as well. But anyone that is interested in soaking in some joy this weekend or sharing their mission or anything like that, please reach out or show up this Friday through Sunday.
We have in the deck their link for signing up, and so we'll share that around so everybody has a link to it.
And Arik, you're just catching us at our tail end here, so we'll make sure to get you the notes. But good to see you.
Yeah, running a business is more time consuming than ever expected.
No worries. All right. Well, thank you all. Hope you have a good rest of your Wednesday.
Thanks all.
Thanks, all.